This is by a guy named Mark Ciampa. And this is the stuff I think I should be teaching, like if I taught a CLS 100 class. Who's had to take CLS 100? It's like intro to college. I can spot the ones that didn't. Professor Rosema, where do I log in? Professor Rosema, how do I blah, 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 blah. So here are his, are you smarter than a fifth grader questions. What river did Washington cross during the Revolutionary War? Plural form of the word mongoose. Mongooses. 60 plus 40 plus 15, first answer. According to Ciampa, that's 100. They have 60% of one, 40% of another, 115. What do the bones in your head call? Skull cranium would have been good. Mount Everest is on which continent? The star closest to Earth? Star. Where are the doldrums found? Other than in this classroom right now. Along the equator, belt of low pressure, and in this room. And the French word for wide? Close. Large. What do you call it? I love this one. What do you call a person who keeps talking when people are no longer interested in what they're saying? The other one's good too. Apple, I think we said. So here's the list of, this is actually, I appreciate. I appreciate Mark's work here. And although he got a little carried away with the things you can do with PowerPoint. Because this is, did anybody see the security article this came from? It's probably 6 months old now. So there was this thing, we asked a bunch of people, what do you do to stay safe? And this should be the advice you, as people who are more knowledgeable than the average bear, give folk who ask you about security. These are things like, hey, do this. Your computer won't get hacked. Which of these are important? If you guys don't shout it out, but just in your head, think about what the most important one of those is. Because that's what the experts in red say, and that's what the people who are asking the help desk questions say. Yeah. Use antivirus. Do you have antivirus installed?
Use an antivirus. How about we just not get caught in the first place?
I think well, Microsoft's got one built in now, basically, right? I have that. Yeah. Unique passwords? Meh. Two-factor authentication? Big. Password manager? Anybody else got a password manager? LastPass, your mind. If you're the one person who can memorize, he's got examples in here that look like my passwords, because LastPass will generate line noise for you. If you get the LastPass password, we have problems. But if the other 160 passwords I have to worry about, not so much.
Nobody knows what a strong password is anymore, because we've all been trained in, like, you use a letter, then number, and uppercase, and lowercase.
Yeah, we will get to that in the course of...
That determines it, not the...
Well, and character set. There's something to be said for character set, but length is huge.
But I mean, length adds more, and way more intricate than characters.
Well, it's just the number you're factoring by, but we will talk about that in this thing. So there's the experts versus non-experts. Nobody uses antivirus anymore. Don't share information. Just keep it all inside. Don't let anybody know. All right, there's how it breaks down. System updates, the biggest deal. And as like ethical hackers, your biggest problem. It sucks when people keep their systems up to date. It makes them harder to get into. Their firewall rules, that too. Visiting only known websites. So if you're just on Facebook, you'll be fine.
Well...
All right, I never thought about it from that perspective, but there's something to be said for that. Right. The homemade, not so bad. Deleting cookies, does anybody do that anymore? How effective is it? Experts versus non-experts. How likely are you to follow it? Mostly a non-expert deal. Here's an interesting statistic. So From 0 day to 6 months, here's how the antivirus and anti-malware people do. 0 day, after an hour, after it's announced, after like I can get, because I'm not like elite hacker doing fuzzing on every app that I'm required to use to find the exploits, after it makes it to the news is when I'm going to find out about it, because I'm not that guy. After that point, they're on it. 1 hour after that, 70% of them aren't going to find it. A day later, still a third of them aren't going to find it. 6 months later, pretty much everybody's got it. But even up to a month later, some of those antivirus vendors are still not finding the stuff we know is a problem. And this might have something to do with why we don't do that. If they were going to be good at their jobs, what we're saying here, every few seconds they would have to be popping out a new update. Why do people like that? Because they think it's easy. I installed McAfee. I'm safe. It's all good. This pop-up showed up on my screen and it said I had a problem and all I needed to do was click on it to take it away. So I clicked on it and I'm good now. And what's creepy is that the thing they don't want to do is automatic update. Like, ooh, what if Microsoft breaks my computer while they're doing the update? Luckily, like 10 takes that choice away, right? It's going to update.
Oh, yeah. Every day.
Enjoy. And it's going to send your credit card numbers to Cortana so she can auto-complete them on forms for you.
Oh, okay.
No, although technically it's within the confines of what they're saying they are allowed to do. 2% of non-experts, man. 9% say they're installing them immediately. I guess if you're a corporate environment, I get that you might want to wait a week. That was our policy. Like, Patch Tuesday comes, and if like there's nothing in the news till next Tuesday, it's cool. Install it. Who does two-factor authentication? I'm just writing this down, so when I go to hack your accounts later, I'll know. What is two-factor authentication? That's one way to do it, yeah.
Something we have, something we know.
Yep, that's the official definition. If there's
Something you are, something.
Something you are is when it gets biometric.
Yep.
And something you know is a password, a PIN number. Something you have is a token or a
Smart card.
Yep, a smart card. Or your cell phone's great for that. So Google Authenticator is, if you've ever seen those RSA tokens, is the Google version of that. Or just having it send you an SMS is good too. This is why there are jobs. I'll put this slide in Blackboard, and I'll put this whole presentation in. He said we could use it. This is why there are jobs in IT security. 11 million customers get hacked. Targets.
South Korea had
Or the Department of Defense, right? The Department of Office Personnel and Management, OPM.
Yeah.
They lost like every freaking person who'd been a soldier. Everybody in your family's information is now out on the internet. Anybody with the security clearance's information. Boom. Way to go. Anthem, the big medical heist. Target is not up here, but it cost us all the good security people in West Michigan because Nelson left and took everybody with him. It's not going down. And so, consequently, somebody's got to fix that. There seems to be a lot of hacks in one particular sector. When I got here, I happen to know that the Unix server was compromised. It took me like a couple of days to figure that out. And I didn't even have root access to that thing. But when you have a group of hundreds of motivated young people, relatively, more intelligent on average than the average bear, plus interested in security, with lots of time on their hands oftentimes. They're expensive. The Anthem breach cost $1 bajillion. Plus, every time they lost a customer, they had to buy them that $1,000, they had to buy that health kit. Each of those credentials, if you lose one of these payment cards, it's $1. If you lose health insurance credentials, that's worth $20. If you get the whole thing and you go to a website like Evolution and put that on the market, there's $1,000 in it for you. Or 0.002 bitcoins. Anybody know how much that is these days? Yeah. But I don't know, Bitcoins were, I thought they were like a couple
way
of,
more valuable than U.S. currency.
yeah, I thought they were a couple of $100 a piece.
Yeah. One Bitcoin equals like 200.
Yeah, it's like
That was the number I had kind of in, yeah. Check out what the current Bitcoin is. So that's what, if you wanted somebody's, if you wanted to buy somebody's, what would that be, TurboTax record? And that's a dark website, you know, so you have to log in and go to, you know, you have to fire up Tor and you have to find an anonymizer and stuff that is actually beyond the scope of this class, but you are smart kids, you could find out how to get there. Smishing, Tor. Thank you for calling BOA. What's that?
is that what Tor does?
Oh, for those of you who are uninitiated, Tor, the onion router, is a way to, I run a Tor exit node. So your traffic can look like it leaves my house. If I connect to Tor, it goes through, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write on the board. I promise not to.
Okay, draw a line diagram too.
Oh, wait, hang on. So here's my house. So you connect to Tor over here. It usually does 3 layers of routing. 1, although that's configurable, 2, 3. And so your traffic goes in here at your house, jumps through those 3 hops, and comes out and appears like it's coming from my house. And now, if you're a dissident hiding from your oppressive government, this is one way that you can, if, you know, say you're a Chinese national, I'm being serious, you can, A, get out of China, if you can make it to anybody who's on the Tor network, and start communicating. So it anonymizes your traffic. And then there's similar things that anonymize domain name lookup type services that will get you, if you need something inside of here, you know, you can't just use an IP address because we're trying to keep it secret. It shows up. One of the interesting things that's happened recently is that if you're a state level operator, you know, if you're the United States of America's government, the NSA or China, there's tricks you can pull, like you can delay traffic here and see if the delay shows up. Actually, one of the areas I'm interested in researching is I think I can fix that problem, but it's a thing. So I can, if you have control of the whole network, so if it's, the thing is if it's in China and it leaves and goes to the United States and bounces around, the Chinese government's sphere of influence ends. But if it's all inside of China, theoretically they could get back to your house. So that's Tor real quick.
What's the purpose of running an exit node?
There is something to be said for being able to say, I don't know where that traffic came from. I run a Tor exit node. That could have been anybody. I did not want to download Dora the Explorer. What, are you kidding me? I don't have a 6-year-old daughter. Oh, wait. Has anybody ever got one of these SMS phishing attacks? Where you get like a, hi, thank you for calling Bank of America. This is to inform you that your debit card has been limited. Press 1 to reactivate. And then enter in your social security number. Oh, and then could you enter in your credit card number?
Someone last year fished the entire GRPS staff for the water passwords and like got like half the staff back.
The whole what?
The whole GRPS staff. It was insane.
See, I should give this presentation to them.
That'd be really
Yeah,
fun.
we had a bit of a breach where I work, where,
Well, don't disclose anything you don't want recorded.
yeah, that's on.
Let me talk about what happened to me. We'll get yours off camera. So one of my last problems at Fox was that we had, hi Carla, we had an assistant who was opening an email attachment that was something like important sales data. You know, a pretty good phishing hook that managed to land on somebody who was in sales and needed sales data. These guys use the power of cryptography, which is a physics thing. I mean, it's the nature of reality as we know it, means that cryptography can go one way, and it's really hard to make it go the other way, because that's why it's good. So she saw something, looked legit, clicked on it, and because her boss was sort of insistent that she have access to a lot of things, maybe she shouldn't, the entire file server just started encrypting itself, the whole thing. And then once those files are encrypted, you've got 2 options. You can pay your Bitcoin, or you can go to your backups, which luckily was where we were at. But it still meant that, you know, anything you'd done between the time the backup ran and by the time your files got encrypted by her computer, it was 1.5 Bitcoin. Oh, according to these guys, it's $415. Did you find out what the current value is?
Up and down all the time. It's like 2 years now.
Sounds about right.
A year and a half, it was like 400.
It was up to 600 a couple years ago.
Yep. Just based on nothing. There's a whole economics question going on there. So yeah, that's huge. And it's the nature of science. This is the website that'll fix your computer problems right there. Just send them your money. It'll be fine. But they have a like a try it with one file deal, and I gave that a shot. It works. I mean, they will uncrypt. The story is that generally speaking, that will work. I mean, if you give them your Bitcoin, they will give you your stuff. Where is your data? Does anybody get freaked out by their Google timeline? Do you get that email once a month? Says, here's where you've been and here's what you've been doing.
Yep.
I have my theories on privacy. I don't. I'm like, oh, good. All of these guys have all sorts of interesting stuff on them that tell you what's going on the internet. But the people out there, the folk, the people who you've all pretty much admitted to being tech support, call you and, you know, grandma says, hey, I don't know how to work this computer. They don't know what's going on. Only 40% don't always update. That's not good. 25% don't know how to check. I bet you that's, well, I bet you
You're actively ignoring it.
that sounds low to me. 25%, that might mean that like 25% lied too. People agree it's important to know the risk level of a website before visiting it, but couldn't tell you how to do it. 92%, and this was interesting where they did an actual site visit. 92% thought, yeah, my software's up to, my antivirus is up to date, but then you actually check, only half of them or so even have something current. People don't know what a firewall is. People haven't even heard of phishing, although they've probably been phished. 22% are running spyware install. All of these other things, speed, sophistication, how easy it is to make these things. I mean, you'll see how simple it is to build a Trojan horse over the course of the next two courses. I mean, you take a payload, you take a wrapper, save your exe. It's the same dialog box you've been using to save your Word documents for 20 years. It's not hard. What's really getting us is this ignorance and confusion thing. People don't know what all this stuff means. People don't know how to defend themselves against it. People have to make these decisions but don't have the information necessary to make them. Like people of a generation. And this is what I guess I'm asking about, like the young people. Do you guys get these sorts of things? Like what does it mean if you want to open a port, if you want to unquarantine something to add an add-on? Like do those things, just because you're under 25, does that make sense to you, or are they just as clueless as my grandparents are? What do you think? Young people, speak for your entire generation here.
I believe most people would be clueless.
Some people just don't know.
Yeah? Like, I think of like my kid, my 16-year-old. He's not like all about, I don't think he could tell me the difference between an IP address and a port.
I did IT work at my high school, so
Those guys
pretty
and
much
gals.
guarantee that most people don't know what it is.
Did they do a, this is kind of off topic, but did they do a help desk, like internship kind of class where you would do support for the school?
Yeah, that was through my class at the Academic Center.
Mm-hmm. We should do that. People say, I'm going to stop because of the last one. People do think that, I'm all good. IT department's got security covered. My Apple computer's unhackable, right? There's actually a really good security post from the last week that is, no, your Apple's transmitting data to. Because Apple people were all like, oh, I don't have Windows 10, I'm safe. Nope. Your Apple's sharing just as much stuff. So people don't know about security, and this rest of this is really a sales pitch for his book. He sells a book about this stuff, but we can teach people these things. It's funny that like the thing people are concerned about most is having their credit cards hacked, and getting murdered and killed by a coworker. Being assaulted, killed by a coworker or employee where you work.
No, killed me and stole my credit card information.
Then I'd be pissed. You've gone too far. They did a little survey, something like no instruction about security, never had a computer course, and didn't know anything about security. Again, we like antivirus software. We like firewalls.
But I think that's some of the problem too, the schools don't really teach it.
I know.
It's not really a class as long.
Yeah, Wayland doesn't have a mandatory computer class.
Like, a lot of them will teach you maybe Word and Excel, but beyond that, you get nothing.
Well, I'm wondering if I should make a case to do this stuff in, I guess there's CIS 103, which is basically like where the power button is, how to use Windows and Office. Like, yeah, sort of, basically. These are the things that they want. Malicious software. Female users got broken out, scan for malware, create backup, use antivirus, secure wireless networks. They are actually coming up with better answers than the rest of the whole. Schools don't teach it. I'm working on that. Leaving out practical security awareness for all students is what we probably should be doing, and what I'm asking you guys to do specifically, being the help desk for your friends and families. Stay vigilant. This is the Department of Homeland Security asking you to do your part, Americans, to defend us from ISIS by not YouTubing their videos and by keeping your home computer safe. The NSSC, the people I'm trying to get that? ISIS?
No, like their production quality is insanely high.
They've got a huge budget. I mean,
The burning the guy in the cage video was like so good.
it was you could not even tell that they were using special effects during that man's horrible, horrible death.
Yeah.
Because they weren't using special effects during that man's horrible, horrible death. But don't you feel like if you do that, the terrorist wins? I mean, I was a kid during the 9/11 stuff, and like I had a buddy who, we were DJs, and he put that video on loop in a screen one night at a club, and I'm like, aren't you just kind of feeding into them accomplishing their goal by doing that? You're trying to terrorize a populace. By doing it, you're helping.
Well, there's so many music videos out there that the background of 9/11 in them.
Do you remember that group that came out? It was a rap group, like dropped their album was like a week or two beforehand, and the backdrop was the Twin Towers blowing up. It was like, they didn't know it. They didn't know that was happening. It just happened that way. These NSS, to your point though, in the same way that like using a curse word sometimes takes the power out of it, watching those videos can do that too. But I digress. These are the NSSC guys who I want to get my program certified by. Americans need to be empowered to secure their own parts of cyberspace. That's right. You need to be empowered.
Take your claim.
That's right. Secure your connections to the cybersecurity internets. College and user model awareness. Trying to do that right here and now. Be aware. Cyber education. You've all plunked down 100 and some odd bucks for this class, right? Wait, what are we getting a credit hour for now? 50 bucks? 100 bucks? So you
Non-residents,
Yeah, I think $220 for that.
you're non-residents?
Yeah.
Move.
Yeah, but then you gotta wait 6 months.
Or find an aunt who you can have your mail delivered to. Jeez. So we're doing our best to educate you guys. There's been a bunch of calls for security. We probably need to integrate this into our courses, but you don't care. Teachers are like, they don't. Do you guys care about security?
Yes.
Is this a biased sample?
Would we be here if we didn't?
No, I don't care at all about it.
I'm not a security expert. I can't teach it. This is blah, blah. We're selling the book here. Here's how you could teach practical security. What if you taught these subjects? Oh, I bet you this guy has a book for just for it. Have you ever seen the convenience versus... we're gonna preach this at you in the official EC Council curriculum. I don't accept this, but it's a thing. That there's a trade-off between security and convenience. You'll hear that point made a lot. Actually, the way the EC Council is going to make it at you is like there's a triangle. Oh, wait. He's got plenty of room for me on this slide. It's like there's this triangle, and here's convenience, and here's security, and here's usefulness. And the further you move the ball towards these, the further away it gets from that, which I reject. I think that good software design, you know, intelligent systems, you can make security convenient, but that's just me.
I suppose maybe the employees that article night, because there's a lot.
But,
I mean,
but that's my point.
If an update happens, you always hear somebody always.
No. If you do it right, though, if you make the security systems, if you build your UI and your UX and your systems and your organizational procedures right, you can make security pretty easy. Like if you are doing that Google two-factor authentication stuff, that's pretty easy. I've got my phone in my pocket, I type in my password. If it's a new computer, I get and I type it in. I feel like that's not too much to ask. All right, so to your point, who was it who was calling me out on the, yeah. It was Robert, which is better?
First one.
Yes, why?
More entropy.
Length trumps complexity. Although, to that end, if your password is X to the, I'm doing it again. So this one is X to the, we're using a 26 character set. That's X to the, how many characters are in the entire ASCII character space? So instead of 26 letters, because they're all lowercase, you've got the entire range of a keyboard with that one. So it's a bigger number, but here's why it works.
I mean, yeah, using one as opposed to the other, but like you're only switching from one to the other. For each one, you're only adding a few. You're adding an extra 2 on the end, whereas like adding a few extra letters like raises up a whole other factor.
Right. So and there's the factors. So the number of keyboard keys, call it 80 to the password length power equals the total number of possible passwords. So if you're up to 8, you got that many. There are cool websites you can check out if you want to know just exactly how secure your passwords are.
How many hundreds of thousands of years it will take to crack it.
Yep. Where's the, I think we have a list. Here are the top 10 passwords. So they got their hands on a pretty sizable data set of passwords. And if you're ever trying to crack something, this is a good place to start.
I love you?
I love you.
Why is Rock you on there?
Yeah, rock you I don't get either. ABC, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I get that.
Look, damn it, that's my daughter's name, and I don't care what you people think. Rock you. Sophia Rock you Rosamond, that's what we call her.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
This is top one.
I am teaching her to kill with her bare hands. What's that, what?
Why does everybody stop at 6?
My guess would be that that was the requirement. Well, the requirement was apparently 5.
Well, like the requirement,
Then.
the requirement for the GRCC bookstore is only 6 characters.
Yep, there you go. So if that's the requirement, you will likely get passwords that are 6
I
characters.
tried to use a password with 16 characters and it wouldn't let me.
Right. Wah, 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 wah. Password manager. My password's 1, 2, 3, 4. No.
So what happens when you introduce a system like Chinese, where all the katakana are completely different and you have like 500,000 of those characters plus your password?
I've never had to hack a Chinese password database, but I bet you it gets incrementally more complicated. But I mean, the same conditions apply. I mean, 91% have something in the top 1,000.
It's sort of, it's not exactly that much harder because usually what they use is software that interprets just regular letters and,
Right, yeah,
and then it gives you a drop-down menu. And but like,
I have
so
enough trouble
it's
typing on my
not
brother's.
complicated.
My brother's a German national now. I have enough trouble with his keyboard when I'm over there. And that's just a couple of extra
Chinese
characters.
use the same keyboard.
But they pick their characters out of it. That's got to be tough. They should have invented computing.
So basically what you do is you type out something called Boolean, and then it gives you a drop-down menu of all the different characters that could be named out of those English letters.
Right. And then you pick them?
You have to pick it, you use your number key.
Is that horribly slow? Like, is it impossible to be a...
It's the Chinese people are the ones putting it in. It's not hard to say.
But still, I mean, just in terms of, like, I know people who will argue with me about the advantage of a Dvorak keyboard over a standard keyboard because of key placement. Because in reality, a keyboard is laid out the way it's laid out to slow you down. Because typewriters would, and I like saying it in 3 syllables like that, would hit the letters would hit one another. So they deliberately put the vowels in bad places and the characters in the wrong place. I'm not making this shit up. And on purpose, to slow you down. So there's an alternate keyboard map, I think it's Dvorak, I think I'm getting that right, that actually speeds it back up. Or you can use voice software. Holy cow. But I bet you in China, same problem applies, that 91% of users have something in the next page. No, have something in the top 100, 1,000. What does that mean to me as a hacker if I'm trying to get through somebody's? I have a 91% chance of cracking your password by testing 1,000 passwords. So if I'm hacking, if I get my hands on the GRCC password database, I have 100 users, say. I am going to get 9 out of 10 just by trying those first 1,000 passwords. It makes our lives as penetration testers or potential penetration testers a lot easier. I mean, that's swell. The word list is less than a K, you know? And then it falls off. I expect everybody to be on this side of the bell curve. And then there's all these things. Who does, don't admit to it, but adding a number, replacing the zeros with an O, like elite hacker. Anybody used Nmap yet? You'll use the crap out of it, but if you've used it, there's a way to get it to export its output in hacker speak.
Yeah.
So it says like the O in password and the S in best friend, like the real hackers do. Do the Gmail trick or add the thing to your password and use that same formula on every website. So it's I love you gmail.com, I love you yahoo.com, all that stuff. Or you can buy these things online. This was new on me, that you can buy a password cover so that or a keyboard cover rather, so you can type in your password with the keyboard cover and then they'll never know, but you'll be able to remember it. Also, not a good idea. So, what do attackers do? What are we teaching you to do? Brute force, dictionary, hybrid, and rainbow tables. You will see those on the test. Know what they mean. Real quick, brute force is trying everyone. Dictionary is that list of the top 1,000 most popular passwords. Let's try those first. Rainbow tables, and a hybrid attack is when you use everything in the dictionary, but then you switch in the hacker speak and you switch in the pluses for T's and stuff like that. And then rainbow tables is this kind of cool trick that doesn't work real well anymore. But it used to be when you would use a one-way hashing function to take password and turn it into an MD5 hashed piece of text. That was always the same hash from the same password, which is swell, but computationally a problem because then you can just set a password rainbow table generator to generate all the hashes for all the possible passwords. So start with, say, that top 1,000 most common passwords and compute the hash for them. You break that by using something called salting, where you mix it up for every site so that it's a different password, but it used to be a big deal. Because then you would just download a 3 terabyte file and compare the password hashes you got. Say you stole the LAN manager database off a Windows box, and there's these hashes in there. You just compare those to that 1 terabyte file, which used to be faster than brute forcing. Nowadays, like, people build cards with like NVIDIA arrays of GPUs that just do this stuff, so it gets a lot faster. If you can memorize it, it's bad. If you've got it on more than one site, that's bad. So humans are bad at that. Use a password manager. You've seen those, right? I didn't have a bunch of people to admit to it. I used to not use LastPass. I recently switched from what was the thing? It was you put it on a thumb drive. Do we have it in here?
Like one of the like Fido.
It's an open source deal. Oh, it's escaping me. It's an open source version of LastPass, right? So the reason I was hesitant about LastPass, and actually what convinced me is they got hacked a couple of times this summer, and I was like, oh, good. But, and I'll explain why. But the deal was you would do the encryption and the password list on this thumb drive. Then you've got it. You own it. Nobody can touch it. I kept it on a TrueCrypt drive. TrueCrypt's where you make a little, you can do some cool stuff with it, but encrypts the hard drive. And so like, here's my passwords, they're encrypted, there's a copy of them over there that my wife knows about, I'm safe. But I probably should have a backup in the cloud. And then once you do that, once you move the backup to the cloud, now you're making TrueCrypt basically, because that's what they do. And what sold me was this summer they got hacked, and I think not once but twice. And the deal is they encrypt the crap out of the password on your computer before it goes to TrueCrypt. And when it hits TrueCrypt servers, they encrypt it a bunch of times there too. So if you had a really weak password, they would advise you to change it. And they were upfront about it with their users, so that kind of sold me on it. So yeah, even though LastPass has been hacked, to the best of our knowledge, nobody's lost a password because of that. This is what I used to use, KeePass. That's what it was called. It's open source, you know. But I've kind of had my eyes, anybody else an open source zealot? I've kind of had my eyes opened to the problems with open source these days. Like recently, all the discoveries about the bug in SSH that just sat there for 100 years and nobody noticed it. So I'm like, unless it's been audited, like TrueCrypt has been audited a couple times recently, I'm not really sold. But take your pick. Any of them are good. Dashline, I guess, is well regarded. I would recommend LastPass if you're a little more paranoid than I am, or a little less paranoid than I used to be. KeePass is good. Haven't used the other ones personally. So there's his password for most of the websites. So that's all the entropy. What's that? Oh yeah, that's two-factor though. That's more secure even still. Which that might be overkill. I dig those in like an application setting where we've got something to keep secure. He's brought up the YubiKey website, and it's a better than a password deal. But if but for your Amazon account, your bank account, your bank should be doing two-factor, like with phone, but that's gonna be hard to guess. Can anybody remember that? I can't remember that. It's just all the characters that crank out a LastPass. The one problem is, it'll be nice when we can use emoji. The one problem is that one password you have to remember. So if you do type your password into a computer at the college, and I've put my keystroke logger on the back of that USB port, then you got to change it. But you guys know what phishing is, right? I didn't see anybody go, what's a phishing? And don't be afraid to admit that. I say that and I realize it's hard to raise your hand if you're the only person with a question, but if you don't, serious. If you don't know what Tor is, be a man, Joe. Ask. Be an empowered individual, Ashley. Ask. Phishing's good. I love it. Have you guys ever, are you getting phishing on your GRCC accounts yet? It usually takes a little while. Google's really good at sorting them out. That one's tricky. I might be a little spooked. PAYPA. What's that? It looks legit, right? Huh. The PayPal links are there. I bet you if you mouse over those PayPal links, though, not so much. They might not use stealyourpasswordnumber.com for your link, but it's not good. So this is a good story from his IT security department. I think I just saw one of these from GRCC too. It's never advisable to click a link in your email. Find additional tips on phishing. Just click on this link in your webmail. Wait.
The security department where I worked did that after our epidemic.
Whatever you do not click on a link in your webmail. Whoa! I just found a new feature. There we go. Oops. Shift F5. Okay. Can we do that again? No, never mind. I'll figure it out later. I'm having fun with Windows 10. If you guys aren't, I'm sorry. These guys will find out if stuff is fake. Backups. Do you guys back up? Answer that privately to yourself. You get, if it's good for nothing else, with the Microsoft deal you get through the college, in case you didn't know, there's links on the CIS webpage. You get Microsoft 360 as long as you're here. 5 installs of Office on any OS, and a terabyte of online storage. So if you use it for nothing else, a terabyte of online storage is a good place to back your stuff up. Even though OneDrive is stupid and doesn't let you go, like, there's like character restrictions or something, and like you can only traverse so deep into directories. It's kind of weak. But if you create an encrypted partition and just upload that whole partition to OneDrive, otherwise, Geek Squad will back it up for $150. You run one of those. Tell people to make sure their firewall's on, tell people to run their patches, run AV, use that user access control thing. You guys know what that is? Boom! You're installing it. And people do that because if they click no, whatever they want to have happen doesn't happen. So they do it again, and then they click yes. Boom! All good. Who uses the public Wi-Fis? Admit. So don't do this, but like, this drives me nuts. Are we still getting, who uses the public Wi-Fi here at GHCC? Are we still getting the certificate error? Oh, that's bullshit. So you log into the Wi-Fi, you see, hey, this certificate is invalid, but go ahead and enter in your credentials.
Yeah,
I didn't get that. Not anymore.
No, that's because the certificate on the hotspot I'm running to collect everybody's password, that's got a valid certificate. Because that's really all it would take. I mean, they make devices to do this, where you just sit them down and turn them on, and it looks, hey, it's the nearest hotspot, logging right in. I'm going to go sit in President Ender's office and do that. We'll see if they change their mind after I log in with his badge. That would be unethical, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't have permission. But yeah, that's the certificate thing. All those guys, those change on a regular basis too. We should probably understand what they are. But they teach you how to find how exactly secure a web page is. Wouldn't it be nice if Mom knew how to do that? Grandma? My son, who's 16 and should know better? Someday, if you don't already, you should know how to figure out where the certificate came from, what the chain of trust is that led you to the certificate. The problem is, we start talking like this, you guys better be freaking wrapped. You better be like, private public key authentication, symmetric encryption is what makes the internet possible. It's awesome. It is kind of cool, and we'll talk about it at some length. I might even show you a video with colors in it. Oh, the colors video, it makes sense to me. But how the whole public-private key thing, we might even look at the algorithm that you use to do most of the public key cryptography. Blah, blah, blah. But all these key pair, public-private key things, difficult to share with people. Blah, blah, blah. This is kind of the information your folks need. Don't automatically connect. Be aware of imposters, because Professor Rosema might be feeling gray hat that day. What about your home wireless? What do you think you should turn on your home Wi-Fi? I admit I got to update mine. I've had the same password for 20 years. It is. What do you guys set your, do you guys set up your own Wi-Fi hotspots?
Yeah.
What security we're using over there? Again, I'm writing this down so I can go to your houses later. Do you remember? WEP?
WPS.
Yeah, it's got problems. We'll talk about them. Yeah, it's got issues. But yeah, WPA2 is the good one. Tell your folks. Over 15 character password is good. You don't want remote management. WPA2 is your friend. That one. I'm going to use it AEX or anybody know? Here's a trivia security question. What's the other name for AES? I'm asking because I can't pronounce it. It's an Indian dude's name. It's like Rijdal. All that good stuff. Anybody of you guys do this? Free games. Malvertise. Oh my, man, malvertising's a problem. I've been listening to, you guys should start listening to the Security Now podcast if you don't already. There's it's too boring. Like, I have to listen to it at time and a half or 2 times, but he does cover the news of the week in a pretty quick way. But there's been some huge, not those social ads, but malvertising sites that like sell crappy ads that are JavaScript links to JavaScript links to JavaScript links to JavaScript links, and about 8 steps down that rabbit hole is the malware. So like even though you're on I think HuffPo got busted. A couple of other kind of big name websites did. They're just running an ad, but it goes bump, 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 and the next thing you know, your computer's executing naughty JavaScript. This is the bookies pimping. I might try and talk him into it. Social defenses. Do you do this? Are you guys social media savvy?
No, it's not.
You're all locked out. I'm so lonely on Facebook. We got off Facebook for like the old school, old people reason. We have a family account now because like when you're in your late 30s, you've accumulated a series of relationships prior to your marriage, and maybe your spouse doesn't want to be looking at those people in their stupid perfect lives. Find out why they're texting you at 3 in the morning. I'm kidding. Look, wait. Go away.